Ladies, gentlemen, and live streamers. That's me. I'm a live streamer, technically. I'm doing one of these every day for the next, 30 days. I myself have often felt very alone in the past over Christmas, and I like the idea of all of you guys and girls having a little community, a little group of people, including me and everybody else, to hang out with so we don't feel so alone. I'm doing today's one a little bit early. Partly because I like the idea of being able to just switch this on and talk to you guys or hang out with you guys and girls whenever I feel like it. But another part of it is because I've often had this big fear of just doing an impromptu live stream and just turning it on and going, all right, we're go time or it's go time, and nobody shows up. So I thought, what better way to conquer it than starting this, 40 minutes early? While I wait for those of you to come in and start leaving your questions in the chat, and by the way, if you're new here, welcome. You can leave any questions or anything you'd like some help with or some coaching on in the live chat, and I will go through and answer your questions. But you can also just hang out with us and tell us your wins or tell us what you're working on, and we can just kind of shoot the shit for the next hour or a couple of hours. But while I wait for you guys and girls to come in, I want to talk about one of my coaching clients in the group right now who's been making tremendous leaps. And if I'm honest, there's a whole bunch of people in my coaching program right now who are just like kicking butt. And this one guy in particular, he's actually a twin. He and his twin brother came to the coaching at the same time, which is like really wild and cool. And they literally look like almost exactly the same. And so it's quite trippy having two guys in there that look the same, but they're absolute legends. And this one guy in particular, he's been really embracing honesty. And he hadn't done much in the way of, sex and dating and relationships. I think he said he'd approached 8 women in his entire life ever. And his brother had only approached that many in his entire life ever. And spoiler alert, both of them are now out there approaching like 5 to 10 women in a night, like per day. So more than they had ever done in their entire life, they're now doing in one day. But this one guy in particular really has been embracing honesty. And at the start, he was asking a lot of questions of like, how do I tell if a girl is into me? How do I tell if she wants me to kiss her? How do I make a move? What's the perfect line to say? How do I hit on her perfectly? What's the perfect way to do dating? He was very nervous. And so, like a lot of you, he was wanting to sort of buffer that nervousness by figuring out the perfect way to do things. But what we've gently been encouraging him to do is to just be what I call autistically honest. And so if you're on a date with a woman and you like her and you want to kiss her, you just say, yo, you're hot. Can I kiss you? Like, it really isn't more complicated than that. And the first couple of times he wanted to try this, he was so unbelievably scared, like so unbelievably nervous, so unbelievably terrified. But he pushed himself a little bit and he just said, you know what? Screw it. Can I kiss you? And he's been having insane results. A bunch of women have said yes, because that's how this goes, especially if you're on a date. But he's even been going to clubs and bars and just talking to women for a little while. And then when he feels like he likes them, he's like, yo, can I kiss you? And a couple of them have said yes, and he's made out with them. And this stuff has been really blowing his mind, that you can just ask for what you want. And if you're someone that has a little bit more dating or sex experience, that's such an obvious statement. Like, you eventually realize, yeah, I can just tell people that I find them attractive and ask if I can kiss them, and some of them will make out with me. Then I can say, do you want to come back to my place and fuck? And they'll say yes, or they'll say no. Like, it's not more complicated than that. But if you're new to this stuff, it absolutely blows your mind. And so he shared all of this in the coaching group and how much his mind has been blown. He went on this beautiful date with this woman and gave her some compliments. She complimented him back, which is always amazing. He eventually said, like, can I kiss you? They made out for a bit. They're going on a second date, and who knows what happens. Maybe they have sex, maybe they don't. They probably will. It's pretty clear that she likes him. But yeah, it's really been blowing his mind. And so I wrote him this little post, I guess. I wrote him this little reply, which we're just going to read out because I think there's some really big wins here. And in dating, sex, and especially just normal goals, it can be a little harder to give ourselves credit for the little victories and the little moments of courage and the little acts of courage and the beautiful moments that can come up. So he, in his post, had said, I gave a compliment to this woman that I was on a date with, and she said I had beautiful eyes. And so I said to him, mate, doesn't it feel so wonderful to have women compliment you? I still remember vividly some of the first few compliments that I ever got from women. It really, really blew my mind. I think as guys, we just aren't used to getting as many compliments, which is true, unless you're a male model or something. So this is a huge win for you, mate. Remember these compliments. You'll still be remembering your first ones for years to come. I still remember the first few women that ever told me that I was attractive or sexy or cool or interesting or any of that, because I'd lived the lonely life of a, lonely average man. I hadn't really had any women ever compliment me, apart from like girlfriends in a relationship. Sure, then they compliment you, but even then, not a lot. So he goes on to say in his original post, I asked if I could kiss her and she said yes. So we made out for a bit. And yes, it really is that simple. You can just ask for what you want and some people will say yes. And so I said to him, I want you to take some time and reflect on this for a bit. Like maybe tomorrow, take at least 30 minutes to actually stop and think about this. You have come such a long way that you're now at the point where you are regularly saying to women, yo, can I kiss you? And some of them are saying yes. No games, no techniques needed. No pickup bullshit, no game needed. No, how do I know if she wants me to kiss her? You've now become the guy who just makes out with women like it's no big deal. Really take some time to reflect on that, mate. It's something quite special. You are fundamentally changed as a person, and yet it barely took any changing at all. Yeah, and this is the thing that happens a lot when we take these moments or these leaps of courage and we start being a little bit more brave. And even when we're scared, we run towards our fears and we show that little bit of courage and we do it anyway. And then all of a sudden we realize that we've changed. We've changed fundamentally as a person. We've grown, we've evolved. We're so much further than we ever thought we could get. But it really didn't take much of a change at all. It didn't take a lot of tweaking. It was just be a little bit more honest. You're scared to suck, so give yourself permission to suck. You're worried about not being perfect, so just fucking do it anyway, even if it's not perfect. And this guy has shown such incredible courage in our coaching group. He is such an absolute legend. He really is. And the good news is this is barely the beginning. He's only, I think a month or two into his coaching. He's got the rest of his life to keep working on this. So super proud of this guy. He's an absolute legend. I can see a bunch of you starting to come in, or a couple of you coming in. And as I said at the start of this live stream, guys and girls, feel free to ask your questions in the chat there and I will respond to them, give you a bit of free coaching, or we can just hang out. Diane Lane, I remember you came the other day, Mrs. Diane, and I said, oh my God, you have an absolutely amazing name, like a pen name or a stage performer name. Really cool name. Phoenix, my brother, I can see you as well. You say, I want a chance to try asking like that. So I guess you're talking about asking, you're on a date with someone, can I kiss you? But I probably have to set up my pipeline first. So when you say pipeline, you just mean talking to women. Yeah, you have to say hello to some women in order for them to go on a date with you. But it's not a big thing. Like I get that when we talk about it like this, I got to set up my pipeline. I'm going to have to take amazing pictures. I'm going to have to set up my profile. I'm going to have to build my confidence. I'm going to have to dress better. I might have to lose some weight. Maybe I have to groom better. Like it can be a little overwhelming. And so instead of making it this big mountain that you have to climb, like all of this stuff that you think you have to set up and do, no, brother, you're just working on yourself 1% at a time. That's all this ever is. That's all dating is. That's all life is. That's all relationships and marriage and business and your own self-improvement, your own self-love, all of that. It's just improving at 1% at a time. You really don't have to be perfect, I promise. So rather than saying, I have to set up my pipeline, no, I'm just going to improve my pipeline by 1%. And pipeline is such a funny word, but I know what you mean. Pipeline's a very like business kind of word, or like funnel. People use that word as well, but I know what you mean. But yeah, you're just improving 1% at a time, my friend. You say, I'm uncomfortable in crowds. You know what would help you be more comfortable in crowds? Being in crowds. This is one of those things that if you want to improve at it, you just do it. And you take baby steps. You go to places that aren't massively crowded. I used to have agoraphobia. I literally could not leave the house. I literally struggled to leave the house to go and check the mailbox at the front of my apartment complex. I literally couldn't walk, 10 or 15 meters, so like 30 feet, to my mailbox because I was so terrified to go outside. I had to get all my groceries delivered. Like I was absolutely agoraphobic as hell. But what helped me work through that was just taking little tiny baby steps, like just tiny little baby steps. Right, I'll go to the mailbox and I practice doing that like 10 or 20 times a day. And then, all right, I'll practice going to the grocery store and I'll have a freak out so I can have my headphones in so I don't have to like talk to other people. And it's just exposure therapy. Yeah, Diane goes on to say, I had that too. Horrible. Yeah, there's a lot of people actually that have, I think with like COVID and lockdowns, I think that brought out a lot of agoraphobia and social phobia in a lot of people, because a lot of people, like especially in my country, God, there were lockdowns for a couple of years, on and off. They kept going on, then off, then on, then off. I think a lot of people, especially working from home, like working remote, developed a bit of social, I don't know, like rustiness, like you became rusty at socializing. So it's a lot more common than I think people talk about. But yeah, Phoenix, basically to give you a bit of advice, if you're uncomfortable in crowds, just start practicing being in a crowd. You don't have to talk to people, but just, I'm going to go out there for 10 minutes a day and just be in a crowd. I'll just sit on a bench. I don't have to talk to anyone, but I'm just going to practice being in a crowd. I say the same thing for men and women that want to practice going out to bars or clubbing or something. Just go to a club or a bar for like 15 minutes. You don't have to talk to anyone, but sit there. You can be on your phone the first few times. That's okay. Like if you got to pull your phone out and just sit there like typing because you're so paranoid and afraid, fine. Sit there for as long as you can and try not to torture yourself, but then go home and say, hey, victory, I did it. And then the next time, try and beat your record. If I stayed for 20 minutes in the club, can I stay for half an hour? Then can I do an hour? And then eventually you work up the courage to maybe say hello to someone, maybe a bartender, maybe a security person, because they'll be nice. Like they'll be super nice to you. And you're just giving yourself a little bit of exposure therapy. But all of that said, Phoenix, if you say, I still don't want to talk to people in public, like I would encourage you to talk to people in public. But if you're like, I don't want to hit on women in public, fine. But then, like you said, all right, maybe I'll set up an online dating profile. Even with that, though, it can help to realize or to remind yourself that you're still going to be talking to people when you go on the date. And so at some point, you're going to be practicing talking to other human beings anyway. So I'd really embrace that. I'd say, look, all right, part of this process, if I'm going to be meeting people, part of the process is meeting people. Like I'm going to have to meet people that will either be on a date or it will be before a date, like if I go and talk to people in public, or after a date, I'm going to have to talk to them again. Like if we become boyfriend or girlfriend or something, then we're going to have to talk. So I would wholeheartedly embrace talking to strangers. I promise you the world is a nice place. And part of the reason why we have fear of crowds and fear of other people is we're scared of a reaction that we won't be able to handle. We're scared that they'll say something mean to us. They'll say we're a loser. We're scared we'll be in a situation where we don't know what to say. And so here's a cheat code that I can give you. First of all, give yourself permission to suck. Like you don't have to be a good conversationalist. Yeah, mate, you go on to say, I had a hard time carrying conversations and I got called out for a lot. See, that's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of like, what if I don't know what to say? Here is your answer. I don't always know what to say. And when I started hitting on people in public, I really didn't always know what to say. And so what you say is, in that moment when you don't know what to say, you say, I don't know what to say. Do you have any ideas? And now what you're doing is you're saying to the other person, can you help me? We are on the same team here. It's not me versus you. I don't have to be the performing little conversationalist who just is perfect. We're on a team here. And if I get stuck in a conversation and I can't think of what to say, I'm going to ask you for help. And occasionally you'll meet people who just don't want to help you. I would not be on a date with that person. Like nothing against that person, but I wouldn't be with someone that's so uncomfortable with social awkwardness that they're not even willing to help you. Like, and that's rare. Most people will help you. And so instead of putting all the burden on you, Mr. Phoenix, you're saying, I have to be the one that carries the conversation. No, you have someone there. You literally have someone there on a date with you that can help you. But it's your job to say to them, I don't know what to say. Can you help me? Like that's 100% on you. They cannot read your mind. But yeah, take some of that pressure off you, buddy. Like you're putting all the weight of the world on your shoulders and saying, I have to be a good conversationalist. No, dude, like I'm not a great conversationalist. But when I get stuck in a conversation, which happens quite a bit, I will just say like, I can't think of what to say. Can you think of anything? And they'll go, tell me about your job. And I'm like, brilliant. Hell yeah, let's talk about that. Something else that you can do is just have a couple of talking points. And you don't need to memorize these talking points, but just have a couple of ideas in your head of like, what are some things that I can talk about? And I did an entire video on this. If you just search on my channel for conversation, and I literally listed like, I don't know, 20 different ideas of what you can talk about. But the conversation itself isn't as important as much as you treating the other person like they're on your team and saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? And I promise there's no shame in that. You might feel some shame in that, but you don't have to. But yeah, dude. Anyway, another question that you asked is, where should I be taking profile pictures that would look interesting? I'm in a small town surrounded by other small towns. You've never been there, but can you give me an idea of what to look for? Well, I've never been there, so I can't really give you an idea of what to look for. I don't know. Pull up Google Maps and search for some interesting... Like, I genuinely can't give you a fucking clue. Like, landmarks, pretty parks, interesting areas around town. Can you travel? Like, can you drive to another town that's more interesting? I know you said I'm surrounded by other small towns. There's got to be something interesting in some of these towns. I would go onto Google and search for the name of your town, and also do this with the other towns around you, and then add in the phrase landmarks or things to do or places to visit or something like that, or tourist, like tourism attraction. There'll be something that someone who's new to the town would go and look at. And if I was like, this is something that I do with every town or city that I visit, I Google places to visit, landmarks, interesting attractions, what to do, like any of these phrases and the name of the city or the town. Because I love to go and look at all the tourist shit or look at what people find interesting. So do that and then take some photos there. But other than that, I don't know if you've read my inspiration article. If you haven't, go and read that. I literally have an entire article, I'll show it on the screen in a second, with a bunch of like example photos that you can take yourself. And so the location, yeah, it helps, but like just copy what's in here. So I have a whole bunch of categories, right? All these categories right here, and just go through all of these categories and see what kind of like photos you can emulate. Like literally pick one of these that you think looks cool and do your best to emulate it. You might not be as attractive as them. You might not be as cool as them. You might not be as good a photographer. That's fine. Like just aim to get like close to these. And that might take like, quite a few tries, but you can do photos in the gym. You can make those look really cool. You can do photos at like cafes and on the street. You can do photos of like your hobbies, get a guitar. If you've got a decent body, take a shirtless picture. If not, that's fine. Leave your shirt on. But yeah, this article has a whole bunch of like example photos and different ideas, traveling photos. Maybe you say you can't travel because there's no interesting places around you. That's fine. Get a cute doggy or a cute cat. Take some photos like that. You can borrow a friend's dog if you want to. Just be honest about that. If girls ask you about the dog, just say, it's not my dog. I borrowed it for Tinder. Photos of your body if you have a nice body. If you don't have a great body, that's okay. I don't have a great body right now. That's fine. Like that doesn't have to be a deal breaker. But, you can even take some silly photos. That's me dressed up as like the Mad Hatter having a tea party with plush toys and animals and stuff like that. So you can muck around and be a bit silly as well. I wouldn't have your whole profile being silly, but yeah, use this profile. And there's like a bunch of people on Instagram that you can, I've got like a bunch of people here. So I wouldn't stress too much about the location. Like a nice location obviously helps. And I think that. That's why you're asking the question. But yeah, just use that article, honestly. And just go on Instagram and try not to compare yourself to the people on Instagram. Understand they are male models and it is literally their job to look good, and that might not be you. But yeah, you can use them as inspiration, dude. But great question. These are good questions, by the way. All right, I'm reading through the rest of your questions. Yeah, look at this username. Everybody, look on the screen at this username. Jesus Christ. Dr. Chad Broman, the broest. So I think this is a bro. I love this username. This might be one of my favorite. You're right up there with one of my other favorite usernames, a guy that's on the channel all the time, Expert Cheek Clapper. So congratulations, you and him are tied for first place of the funniest / coolest usernames I've ever seen. He says, thanks, Andy. Your idea of the world is your friend, talk to everybody helped me much. Yeah, so Phoenix and everybody else listening, I did a video where I just said, like, talk to everybody. The world is your friend. Like, I promise you, everyone outside is nice. Yeah, occasionally there are some people that are having a hard time of life and maybe they won't be kind to you. Yeah, we all know that. But the vast majority of people, particularly if you live in like a modern country, like a Western country or a lot of Europe or parts like that, most people are pretty nice. You go outside, you talk to people, you find they're a lot nicer than you think they are, and you find your conversations will go a lot better than you thought they would. And when they don't, you find out that nothing bad happens. Like, I can't tell you how many awkward moments I have. I'm someone that likes to tell jokes to strangers in public. I like to give compliments to people, like men and women, on what they're wearing. I like to tell people, you have a beautiful smile. I like to tell people, hey, I hope you have a beautiful day. Not everybody fucking responds to me. Some people just ignore you. Some people will just like not even give you a good answer. Most people are not mean, but some people just won't answer you. That isn't necessarily the response that some of you might be wanting, but it helps make you a little more stoic. It helps make you a little stronger and all of that. So I promise the vast majority of the world are nice. That might be different if you're currently in a war-torn country or something, but I suspect you probably wouldn't be watching this channel if you are. Shout outs to all my people in a war zone right now. Just know we love you and we appreciate you and we hope you're doing all right. Phoenix says, so you're talking about dates that you went on. It seemed like a lot of them, like a lot of the people you were on dates with, wanted a kind of connection that I didn't really understand. Yeah, so your mission is to ask. Or they had someone really specific in mind. Yep, so your mission is to ask. But I want to try again. Yeah, try again with much more honesty and vulnerability. And you're already pretty vulnerable, like in the way that you ask questions on this channel. Like you're already great at that. But start asking. Stop trying to mind read. If I can give you one fucking life hack, stop trying to mind read, especially in dating. Holy shit. You probably already know this, Phoenix. Like your question here tells me this. You understand already that some people are not very great at telling you specifically what they want, right? That's why you're trying to mind read. You're like, these people, these women didn't tell me what they wanted. And I had to try and guess, like, what do you want? What kind of connection are you wanting? Like, did you have someone specific in mind? Is that me? Is it not me? Like, most people are not upfront and honest. And so if you want to know what people are wanting, it's got to be you, brother. Like I'm telling you right now, 99% of human beings, this applies to men and women, are not going to be the first person to be deeply honest and vulnerable in dating. Some people will, particularly as we get older. Like people in their 30s and 40s and 50s tend to be a lot more honest and upfront. They don't have time for bullshit anymore. But most people, especially if we're talking in their 20s or early 30s, they won't be upfront and honest. Like, it's not that they won't be honest, but they won't be the first person to be honest. And so it's got to be you, brother. You got to say like, hey, here's exactly the kind of connection that I'm looking for. What are you looking for? And then they'll be honest and tell you. Or, hey, I'm getting the sense that you're looking for someone specific in mind. Is that me or not? If it's not me, no hard feelings. It's all good. We can go date other people. But is that me? Or is there something that you're wanting that maybe I could give, but I just don't know what that is? So you got to tell me. Like, you got to be the one to be upfront and honest, bro, because it's not going to be other people. I'll tell you that right now. Dr. Chad Broman the Broist, and also with the most broy username, says, now I just talk to whoever is around in the climbing gym or at the gym or whenever. Yeah, man, when you can just start like talking to other human beings, man, this stuff gets way more fun and interesting, because it really does start to feel like everyone in the world is a friend that I just haven't met yet. There's that beautiful saying, a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. All right, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Cam has said that he would like to join this, which means I'm going to have to put my headphones in so I can hear him. And I'm going to send him a link. I don't know how long it will take him to join, but I'll give him a link and he'll probably come and join at some point. Let me make sure I got my headphones in. No, I do not. Yes, I do. All right, Cam will be joining us in a little bit. Hopefully this works. I've never actually had someone join in the middle of a call. All right. Kimberly says, agree. I choose to engage with people who are kind and empathetic. If they prove themselves not that, I definitely rethink my boundaries. Yeah, hell yeah. Like, Kimberly, and you already know this, but like, I honestly think one of the biggest cheat codes in life, or the biggest epiphanies that you can have, is realizing that you don't have to spend your time with people that don't really add to your life. There's a really good book on this called How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. And another really good book on this is I Need Your Love, Is That True? There's a whole bunch of books on this. When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. Books that are basically trying to show you if someone isn't necessarily making you feel good about yourself, and they might not be intending to make you feel bad, but just if you don't feel good when you spend time with them, or if you don't leave that conversation or that hangout feeling better than before you met them or before you hung out with them, you don't have to keep spending time with them. And that's a huge, huge realization that, again, I think older people kind of get this, because at some point you start realizing, wait, I'm going to die one day. Do I really want to be spending my time with people that don't necessarily add to my life, or people that I feel like I'm not adding to their life? Like, why would we spend time together? But I think when you're younger, you're trying to fit in, you're trying to like be a good person, you don't want to hurt people. And so you spend time with people that you're not necessarily, they're not adding to your life, but you hang out with them anyway because you don't want to feel bad. Hello, sir. Holy crap. It's Cameron, everybody. It's this
How
guy.
are you doing?
Where's your Christmas hat? What is this?
I wasn't given a memo. Are you serious?
Yeah,
You want me to read your mind?
hat. Yeah, I do. We've just had a long conversation with people about how we don't read minds in dating. We ask. But all that said, you should read my mind.
In business, socially, don't try and read people's minds.
Yeah, I know.
Good advice from us.
Dude, I feel like in the early days of like business, like coaching and stuff, I did try and read people's minds. I was like trying to read and investigate whether or not I thought they would sign up for coaching. Like I was trying to look for signs and like, what is this guy's body language on the call? Like, does he seem enthusiastic? He said that he's a 9 out of 10 in terms of serious, but is that like serious enough? And then at some point I was just like, why am I being so fucking weird? Do you want coaching? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm. It was that, and I'm recognizing that I can't see the future. It was like the two.
Yeah.
I can't read minds. I can't see the future. The future has multiple possibilities, and you can't read minds. Those are like huge realizations, especially when you're younger and you have that arrogance that you know fucking everything. Which I'm sure we're gonna get people in. Like I've had people comment on my videos where I'm like, you're in that youthful stage that everyone goes through, where they're like, I know fucking everything. Like everyone's stupid but me, and like maybe 5 other people that I know who are actually intelligent, and they're all my age. Do you know what I mean? It's like kind of like that sometimes when you're younger. So it's nice. It's nice to get out of that phase a little bit and recognize that you're stupid. You can't see the future. You're terrible with people. All these things we beat ourselves up to. You know.
It's not even beating yourself up, bro. It's such a like freeing epiphany to realize like, wait, I'm not actually as smart as I thought I was. I know enough to know that I know nothing. Like that's incredibly freeing because now you don't need an opinion about everything. How incredibly freeing is that? I don't need.
You struggled. A bit of inside baseball for everybody. Andy really struggled with the idea that he was the expert, and when you put yourself on YouTube, a lot of people come from this position of I am the expert. You can see all the super big channels where it's like their whole phrasing. Some of that I really like. Like there's one called Renaissance Periodization, which is like a working out. He's like a exercise doctor or whatever, and his entire thing is I am an expert. Listen to me, be the expert, and he's got like millions of views from it. And I know you were very much in the mindset of like that is what I need to do. I need to be that expert teacher in specifically, in BDSM and dating. And you had to like spend years really struggling with this, like letting go of like, I have to be the expert. I have to know the stuff I'm talking about. Cause it's, it's very restricted. It's actually quite restrictive on your content, I think, for a lot of guys who like build their channels around that idea. So it's actually, I think a lot of guys go bigger or are more enjoying making content when they don't have that pressure on them probably as well.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. You want to answer some questions?
Go for it.
Yeah, you do. I want to answer questions. Well, first of all, I just want to point this out. This is funny. Diane said, as a woman, sometimes I purposely say nothing on a date to see how the man reacts. If he can sustain silence and how he deals with it. If he then says something like, I don't know what to say, I find that pretty cool and honest. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I do too. I like when a girl is like comfortable in the uncomfortable, if that makes sense. And she doesn't have to be perfectly comfortable, but just like not trying to be fake. I think a lot of dating is people trying to be fake. And like you said, content can be like that too. Like coaches and YouTubers, like trying to be an expert, trying to be cool, trying to present that image almost of like the perfect human being. A lot of celebrities do that. A lot of influencers do that. A lot of people on dates do that. I like the person who's like human and not afraid to say, yeah, I suck sometimes. You're like, cool, sweet, me too, great. Now we can talk like people.
We all suck. Everyone just, everyone sucks. Try to suck a little less every day. That's our new thing. Try and suck a little less every day.
That's Alex.
Unless you enjoy sucking. Unless you enjoy sucking in another capacity. But try and suck a little less every single day. We were trying to work this out because we were like talking about give yourself permission to suck. And if you go on a date, if a guy goes on a date and it's just like he can't fill the silence, that's completely fine. Like understand that this is completely fine. If you're not good at small talk, if you're not good at that conversation stuff. Like I remember when we wrote our guide and I was like, have a little bit of conversation with them, ask them what they do, ask them like, what do they do for fun? Do they travel? All that stuff. And like, I realized like we weren't giving a lot of advice on this because I wasn't going to go in granular detail about this is like, if she says this, you say this, but it's like, it's not meant to be. Like I want guys to kind of suck at it for like a while until they get the hang of it naturally, rather than giving you like a playbook of conversation, which seems, I don't know. Everyone I know who's got good socially did it by experience, not by some sort of like blueprint game plan. And I don't think it's even really that possible to decode it in that way.
Being imperfect and just doing it. Yeah. The work trumps any theory, always. Like on any goal. Kimberly W says people who are in their 20s often want to put their best foot forward, and sometimes that leads to lying in small and big ways to conform to what the other person wants. Yeah, you and I call this social chameleon. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah. I think social chameleon's a little bit. I understand what you're saying by lying. I think like social chameleon it's more about returning energy. So like if someone comes up to you and they're being like miserable and they're complaining, you kind of join in. And then if someone comes up and they're like super happy and energetic, you also join in. And it's like almost lying about what you want to do and what state you're in and adapting to the people around you so they like you more. It's called like mirroring.
Sort of what Isn't that sort of what Kimberly's talking about here, though?
That's mirroring. I wouldn't say it's like if you're just telling loads of little small lies. Like if someone says, "Oh, that movie was great," and you pretend you've seen that movie, that's the typical one I think I've been caught out in, like pretending to see a movie that I haven't. So like I can see that being like little white lies to help you along socially. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. But also like, yeah, I think mirroring energy and like being that kind of like reactive, like is something that is kind of untrue to yourself potentially.
Yeah.
But we can also say that that's a necessary. It's a necessary learning phase for a lot of people who haven't had a lot of socialization as well.
Yeah, like Phoenix goes on here to say, I definitely feel that pressure to put my best foot forward. And like sometimes the
Or even
answer
lying about someone asks you you're doing okay and you just lie. You're like, I'm doing really well, because you want to come off. Yeah, that's pretty normal too, isn't it? Like walking, like if someone's like, how are you doing? They're not expecting you to come out and be like, yeah, it's really bad. My house might get like repossessed by the bank and we might be homeless. They don't want that. They just want you to say, okay, and like move along with the conversation. So I think in England, we get around this because we say, how's it going? And no one ever responds to that. It's just hello. So it's like in the same way they do this in Argentina and like Spanish countries too. Like, how are you is never answered. It's just another way of saying hello. Like, how's it going, mate? And usually you say like, yeah, good. Or you say, how's it going, man? You good? And you like that, and then you never talk about how you are. You just continue forward with the conversation from that point with no answer. Which is that better than lying, or do you want to get into a deep conversation with everybody?
Whatever you want, whatever the person wants. I think.
What do you say if you you're Mr. Radical Honesty, and I'm Mr. Radical. What do you say? Someone asks you how you're doing. What do you say if you don't really want to burden them with everything? And like you don't want, because no one is necessarily like entitled to know everything about you. So what's your honest answer when someone says how you're doing if you're doing badly without explaining it?
So
I'm doing badly, but I don't want to talk about it.
Like I would never be doing badly, because badly would just be a mindset, and that might sound like
okay.
Literally, that's. But I'll try and answer your question anyway. By doing what I talk about in the content all the time, like you can be honest and vulnerable, but own it. So I would never tell a story that I'm a victim. I'm just years past that point. So if I ever felt like I was feeling strong emotions, which is what you're talking about, I would own that. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going through a patch of like a lot of sadness and all of that, but I'm working on that. I know like meditation will help. I'm talking to my friends about it. I'm seeing my coach and he's helping me through that. So yeah, it'll be all good. Like I know I'm just going through a patch, but I really appreciate you asking. That's really cool of you. Like, how are you going? So it's like I'm taking ownership of it. I'm not just saying my life sucks and it's not fair, and then I'm leaving it to the other person to make me feel better. It's like I'm making myself feel better in the statement, or I'm at least acknowledging I'm handling it, or I'm asking for help from other people to handle it. Or if it was someone that I was close to or trusted, I would say, do you have any suggestions? Like, here's what I'm going through. Do you have any suggestions for me? And like, that's taking ownership of it. Whereas I think a lot of people, when they start with the honesty stuff, they think, oh, I can just unburden myself and like pour it all onto the other person. And that's fine. That's like the clumsy first steps of honesty. I did that shit. So did you. You think honesty just means telling everyone everything. But at some point you get decent at figuring out how to still handle it rather than being the victim. Mortis says, next year is going to be my year. What's Cam going to say to that?
You have, I can't count. You have what's like 3 weeks left in December, bro.
Yeah. There is no
Make this year, the rest of this year for you. Just, yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I used to do this video series at the end of every year, like 2 months before the end of the year, being like, you have 2 months left, you pussy, like make sure you use the most of it. And obviously I don't talk like that anymore, but dude, you have like 3 weeks left. Why wouldn't you start now? Like, why wouldn't you start literally today? Like, as you're listening to us right now, you literally have our motivating voices in your head and everyone else in the comment section right now in the chat giving you love and motivation. Why wouldn't you start right this second? Go for a walk or something. Like, here you go. Tell us what your goals are right now. Type them in the chat. Tell us.
He said that. He said to get a job and get fit. I can understand why he wants to pause he wants to pause applications because it's hard to get a job before Christmas. I can see that. So you should be working on networking. You should be working on your CV. Those are things that you should be sending your CV to people who know what they're looking at and what they would. And if you can find someone who employs in the sector you want to go into, you should be sending it to them as well. I'm using the should a lot here, but you know what I mean. And then get fit. There's no reason why you would wait till January. Like there is literally no reason unless you are in hospital bed right now or something. And even then, like physio
You can
or whatever you should
exercise
be
your
doing.
arms. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
this in the hospital bed. Yeah.
The idea of
So
leaving getting fit till January really annoys me because I hear people say that in November or October. Like imagine saying I'm going to wait till the new year in October, which I've heard people say before. Like, oh, I'll probably get around to it in like New Year. It's like, Jesus, that is so far away.
yeah, you're basically playing on hard mode. Like, because you're basically saying, I'm going to not care about my diet or my body or any of that over Christmas, which is when everyone eats and binge eats. Everyone just binge eats and binge drinks over Christmas. Not everyone, but most people. And so imagine if you didn't. Imagine if you had some sort of meal plan in mind, or just some sort of like, I'll have a fair bit to eat. I'll eat maybe double what I normally would on Christmas Day, and then that's it. And then I'm good after that, and then I'll go back to my regular eating. Damn, dude, like you'd be massively ahead of other people. In terms of fitness, what does that mean? Do you want to lose 10 pounds? Do you want to gain muscle? Do you want a bit of both? If you're wanting to lose weight, go for a walk every day for 15 minutes. After you build that into a habit, so you've done that for a few days, start going for half an hour, then an hour. Like whatever it takes, just start doing something. Start with the tiniest baby step. If you're really unfit, start by walking for 1 minute a day. But yeah, don't wait till January. It's such a funny thing that people do, hey, where they're like, I will start my goal on arbitrary day and time. It's like, why? Like literally, why wouldn't you start it right this second? Because you're scared. That's the only reason. And so what you're telling yourself is, I let my fears dictate my actions, and my goals are not important enough to me. I will only do them on a random day of the year or a random time.
By the way, if someone's in the coaching group, this is a good example. If someone is in the coaching group and they post us like, I'm going to start this tomorrow, we're like, what can you do now? We literally say this to everybody who's like, if anyone ever says, I'm going to start this, blah, blah, blah. And it's something like, I'm going to start approaching tomorrow. You know what I mean? It would be like, we would be like trying to push them to be like, is there anything you can do in the next 6 hours you have left in this day or something like that? Can you go to a bar? If you were talking about online dating, it's like, well, why? You can go online now. Like, there's no reason why you would leave this till tomorrow. You can take photos now. You can do something. You can edit something. You can send us your photos. There's always some action you can take that whenever you say, I will do this at this date, there's always action you could be taking regardless of like whatever you think there's an impediment. There's always something. There's always some small little step that will give you a little bit of momentum that you don't have to wait until some arbitrary time to do.
Yep. Phoenix goes on to say, I'm scared, all right. So I don't know what your goals are, Phoenix, but yeah, it's fine to be scared. Write out all your fears. Go. Write it all out. You can write it out to us, or you can write it out on a piece of paper to yourself or tell a friend, but start writing them out. Like, your fears will not just go away unless you address them. In the Play to Win video course, I literally have an entire chapter on how to overcome fears, and I have like 20 different strategies. So if you don't have it, go grab the Play to Win video course and watch that chapter. But yeah, start writing out your fears. Borealis says, I'm losing fat right now. Christmas Day is going to be a challenge. Yes, it is, because you just said it will be a challenge. So now it will be. Christmas will be difficult because you just said it will be difficult. To be honest, the worst case scenario is losing about a week of fat loss progress in a single day. Yeah, and so now that's more likely to happen because that's what you're obsessing about. What I would love to see from you, and if you're in the coaching program, this is what we would get you to do. Tell us what the best case scenario is. Write that out. Write that out as a comment right now, what the best case scenario is. Because if you're obsessing about the worst case scenario and it being a challenge and it being hard and I'm going to lose progress and all of that, you make that infinitely more likely to happen because that's all you're thinking about. It's all you're focusing on. You're basically focusing on losing and you're not even going to try and win. But if we get you to write out the best case scenario or the best thing that could possibly happen, now that's in your mind. And then your mind will start to come up with solutions of how you can make that happen. Baby steps of how you can work towards that. So make it easier on yourself, dude. Tell us the best case scenario, not the worst. Why do we give a shit about the worst case scenario? It's so funny that our brains, mine does the same, so does yours, Cam. It'll tell us the worst case scenario. It's like, who gives a fuck? That hasn't happened yet. If it does, I'll figure out what to do. But that's the first thing we go to. And we almost never by default, until we train ourselves, go to the best case scenario. Like I almost never hear people, apart from you and in our coaching group, I almost never hear people go like, oh, what if I lose weight over Christmas and it's the best day ever and like everyone's proud of me and everyone pats me on the back and then I have the body of my dreams. Like almost nobody talks like that. So write out the best case scenario, brother. Write out the possibility. Kimberly says, for me, procrastination is often rooted in needing time to adjust to the energy that's needed to do the thing. And I forget that one step is enough. Yeah, 100%. Like you've just set the bar too high. And then you're like, holy shit, I'm going to have to work up motivation to do this. It's like, no, like Cam said, what is the tiniest little step that I can do right now that requires zero energy and zero motivation? Basically, we're stepping around motivation and willpower, even though that's the thing most people seem to think is important. We had someone ask about this in the group yesterday, you know, the Russian dude. Oh, you weren't there, were you? No, you were. You left? I can't remember. Anyway,
Which
the
one was
Russian
this?
dude in the group, in the coaching call yesterday, you know who I'm referring to. He asked a question of like, I don't have any motivation right now. I'm procrastinating. And I said, no, you're setting the bar too high. Lower that bar. He was telling himself that he has to go out and approach 15 women a day and hit on them. I was like, while you're lacking motivation, that's way too high. Go talk to one woman a day. And he settled on 3. He said, okay, I'll go and talk to 3 women a day. That's what I want to do. Brilliant. But usually we've just set the bar insanely high, and that's why we procrastinate. You only procrastinate something that's scary. You're not going to procrastinate a baby step. And if you do, then the baby step is too big. Make it even smaller. Life of Brandon says, I always have to hurry to avoid being late to class. We have someone in the coaching group who worked on this, literally worked on being late to work all the time. And we worked with him for like, I don't know, probably took like 3 months for him to really get good at this, maybe longer than that. How do I make my morning routine more chill to the point that I have time to prepare for the day and also make it to class on time? You say, I wake up early, but I still end up rushing to catch the bus. Then wake up a little earlier, see if that works. Do things the night before so that you can be ready to go. Like prepare the night before. So all you have to do when you wake up and you're tired and you can't think straight is just like, I already showered the night before. I already got all my shit. My bag is like packed and ready to go. It's at the front door. Literally all I need to do is put my fucking shoes on and my clothes on and walk out that door and get the bus. Like make this easier on yourself. Anything you'd add?
No, that was everything. I think this is like a difficult one to fix for a lot of guys, surprisingly, and you don't get any understanding from people about it, which is what when I was listening to the guy you're talking about, the always late problem is something that everyone's just like, why is this a problem for you? Like, it's like, and people did understand that people who have this issue with time are literally like, they're like almost incapable. They have to like teach themselves like how to keep track of time and how to get there. And some of them have anxiety problems, which put them like significantly like late for stuff. And like, it's one of those things that people like do not give any understanding or empathy towards, because they're upset when people waste their time or when people are late on them, and they think people are just being rude and like, you know, are being, people struggle to be empathetic about this one, which is a shame. But like, it means that it's actually harder for people to fix it if people are going to act like that as well.
Yeah, because no one will help, or a lot of people won't help you. They'll just yell at you.
Or they don't treat it like it's a problem. They treat it like something that's easily fixed. Yeah, when it isn't. It's like, if it's like a pathological is the right word. I'm not sure what it would be. Like an actual problem that they have.
Yeah, there are lots of things that we treat like this. Domestic violence is another one that might be a funny thing to bring up, but like, especially in my country, there's literally advertisements everywhere that just say, hitting your wife, it's not okay. And it's like, thanks. That helps me with my anger issues and all of the beliefs in my head and all of that and my lack of knowing what to do when I'm about to fucking go psycho. Thanks. I shouldn't do it. Thanks. I already knew that. That's why I have guilt and shame. And that just perpetuates the cycle. Same with lateness. You're right. Most people, P.S. whatever the hell is in your background is fucking loud. What the
That
hell
was
just
Powell.
happened?
He's doing a smoothie. Sorry.
That's crazy, lad. Yeah, a lot of people with lateness just go, stop being late. It's bad. You shouldn't be late. It's bad. And so, yeah, I think the first thing to start with is a bit of self-compassion, Brandon. And Kimberly, you said that you have this issue too sometimes. I think a little bit of self-compassion can help. I think also understanding other people's point of view, like at least for the guy in our coaching group, I could see that he was very defensive about his lateness to the point where he wouldn't listen to his boss when his boss was trying to explain to him, we need you here on time. And sometimes we have a lot of guilt or shame about an issue, and then we can't empathize with other people who might be a little frustrated with that. So a little bit of like meeting the other person or the friends or whatever who are frustrated with you, meet them halfway and say, look, I get that you're frustrated with me. I understand. I am too. We're both on the same team here. I get that you want me to be on time. I do as well. do you have any tips for me? Like, can you help me? And our coaching client did ask his boss, like, do you have tips for me? Like, can you help me? Because I want to fix this too. But sometimes we can treat other people as the enemy. We're like, stop yelling at me. I know I shouldn't be late. Like, shut up, stop. And then we don't look for solutions because we have so much shame and guilt. So moving past the shame and guilt is probably the first thing that I would recommend. And that can take a little bit of practice, a little bit of time, a lot of self-love and compassion. But yeah, there's all these different tips, Brandon. But something else that can help is just see it as I want to be 1% more on time and then improve at that. So if I'm normally 1 hour late to class, can I be 55 minutes late to class? And then can I be only 50 minutes late to class? Whereas a lot of the time we label it as a bad thing, as a problem, and then we almost give up because it's like so overwhelming. Like you said, Cam, there's a lot of anxiety and shame, and yeah, like you can just kind of spiral with this shit and you almost give up. You're like, I'm late, who gives a fuck? I'm already late, I've already failed, there's no point going now. And then you perpetuate it and make it even worse. That's what we had with our coaching client. He would be 5 minutes late and then he'd give up and he'd go, fuck it, I'm already late, I've already failed. I may as well be an hour late. It's like, no. Try and be as less late as you can.
It was a doom spiral, like a complete downward spiral. It was like, I'm already late. 5 hours isn't going to make a difference. Like literally, I think he was like 5 or 8 hours late, or he even decided to cancel something because he was late.
Yeah, he's
and
like,
it's like,
fuck it,
oh, that's a
I
real
shouldn't
issue.
Go. Yeah. And now with that, understand that other people might not give you a pat on the back if now you're 50 minutes late and before you were an hour late. Like a lot of people will just be like, you're still late, I don't give a fuck. You're either on time or you're a bad person. Like a lot of people will think like that, but this is more for you. And so if you are now 5 minutes less late than you were the week before, you're probably going to be the only one that's going to celebrate that. If you're in the coaching group, we would celebrate that. If you make a post about that, like in the comments, we will celebrate that with you. But understand that most people won't celebrate that. They will see it as you're either on time or you're a fucking terrible, horrible human being who's a piece of shit. You're wasting my time. What the fuck is wrong with you? Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, just work on improving it. As Phoenix says, everything's easily fixed when it's not happening to you. Like yes and no, but I would also add in the solutions are usually very easy, but we complicate them. Like there is almost nothing that's actually difficult, but we make it more complicated. But I kind of get what you're saying. It's like it's very easy to just say be on time, but if you're in the middle of it, maybe that doesn't fully understand. So I get what you're saying, Phoenix. Expert cheek clapper. Here we go. So Cam, before you came, I said we got 2 people in the chat right now who have the coolest names ever. Expert cheek clapper, and we also got this guy, Dr. Chad Broman, the broest. I don't know what's going on with you guys and girls with your names, but holy crap. Expert cheek clapper says, hey, look, beautiful bald men on YouTube. Thank you. That's nice of you. I appreciate it.
I did shave. I did shave. I did shave down there, so I am bald today. Yeah.
You're fucking hell, dude. No. He goes on to say, I really love how this community and channel made me feel much better about being a, quote, late bloomer. It can be a superpower. Thanks, fellas. Yeah. There's a lot of guilt and shame around I haven't achieved my goals by set age. And it's so fucking arbitrary, hey? Like, it really is arbitrary. Life of Brandon says, thank you for the advice. You are very welcome, my friend, my anime picture friend. Before we were talking about, you said sometimes you just say, how's it going? Chad Broman, the broer, says, if you say, how are you going in Germany, you get a 1 hour monologue about life. Yeah, because Germans are very literal. Some of our favorite clients have been Germans, hey, because you just tell them to do something and they'll just fucking do it. And they'll take it literally.
Can I answer a question? I need to answer a question that came up. There was literally someone, Dr. Chad asked me a question a while back.
Yeah. This one. Look at me. I'm all over it. I know which questions you're referring to.
So yes, but a client did it. So a client was like trying to help. We were trying to brainstorm. It was like going for a very bespoke look that I basically wanted to create a look for him. But the idea is my idea is that you can take pretty much any like aesthetic in men's fashion and then add the touches to it to make it more attractive, give it a little bit of edge, put it like masculinity forward in the looks and everything, and then also transfer it into a really good Tinder profile. And so a lot of what I do is more about like taking the style that they want and then, converting it into something that would be attractive. And what he did was use fuck, what's it called? What's the one where it's like image generation, but you can really control it? You know what I'm talking about. There's one that's really, really like good for image generation, but it's not like one of the ones where you do prompts. It's like fucking hell. Andy, you're the guy who does tech.
It's been a long time since. You're not talking about Midjourney.
No,
DALL-E?
that's just like
DALL-E.
no. Someone's gonna tell
Anyway,
me.
Yeah, someone.
Anyway, whatever. Fuck it. He used that in combination with ChatGPT, and then there was like kind of he managed to use them together, and between the two of them, he came up with like loads of pictures of him in different. Like it took his image and added outfits. Now it looks like shitty AI because AI, like warps your face. It like makes everything look a bit weird, makes the clothes look weird. But it did get the vibe kind of right for each aesthetic, so we were able to sort of see what he would look like in different outfits. And obviously it created like, because it's AI, it can create like hundreds of those. So we were able to like refine it a little bit and pick one. So that was cool.
You're talking about Stable Diffusion.
Yes, Stable Diffusion.
Yeah, that wouldn't come into my head either. I had to Google that. Yeah.
That was it. It was a mixture of the two. He like used somehow he mixed the two together. So, yeah.
That's cool. AI is pretty fucking crazy. Like, I like that we've used it a little bit at times in our content and stuff.
I use it all the time.
We use it. Yeah, do you?
I use it for publishing on YouTube. Because you can use it for keywords. It can find keywords for you. It can find. It can do all of the SEO stuff you need it to do in like a second, which would have taken me like probably like 2 hours of my time. Now it takes like 5 minutes. So that's really cool. I think for a lot of people who need it for like writing stuff online, it's really become an efficiency booster, which is good.
Phoenix says, I've actually been really awkward at the gym. I got to make sure I don't interrupt anyone mid-set while making sure I get my own rest intervals right, and I just don't feel ready. Yeah, because that sounds like you're trying to do everything all at once. I got to make sure I don't interrupt anyone mid-set. I got to make sure I get my own rest intervals. I got to not be weird. I got to not be creepy. I got to be cool. I got to, like, you're just putting a lot of pressure on yourself, dude. Obviously, you don't have to hit on people at the gym if you don't want to. I'll make that clear. I've hit on, like, maybe 3 people ever in my entire life in the gym. It's just not really where I want to talk to people. Like, I'll talk to people there, but it's not where I want to hit on people. But let's say you do want to do it, then take some of the pressure off, buddy. Like, you can just go over and say hi. Like, when you call it approaching, it can be very overwhelming and intimidating and scary. But just think of it like I'm going over and I'm saying hi. And I'm seeing if the person is cool. I'm seeing if they want to talk to me. I'm seeing if they're single. That's it. I don't have to be perfect with this shit. You don't have to hit on people. I'll point something interesting out, though, because this happens a lot when we have, like, women give advice. I'll try and phrase this in a non-clumsy way, but, like, Kimberly, you've said here, personally, it's a huge turn-off when guys hit on women in the gym. I would rephrase that a little bit and say, personally, it's a huge turn-off when guys hit on me in the gym. It's not a good time when we are vulnerable and having me time. I'd rephrase that as, it's not a good time for me when I am having vulnerable me time. There are a lot of women that love being hit on in the gym. And I think this just goes for both genders. A lot of times we will say what we like, and then we will say, so therefore, I'm sort of speaking for all women. And it's like, that just isn't the case. So for some things, sure. Like most women don't want to get punched in the face by a guy. Sure, fine. You can speak for all women there. But a lot of times we will take what we like, and then we will apply it to everyone in our gender. I think as long as you're doing the basic stuff of walking over, being polite, are you single, not bothering them, doing your best to have a good experience with them, then great, hit on people in the gym if you want to. But yeah, thought I would point that out. All right, let's find another question from these wonderful, beautiful humans. JW. Cam, you can take this because you're the group expert social butterfly. How to stop being nervous in group settings.
How often are you going out? Like, if you want to answer, follow up, be my first question. It does go away. Can I promise, guys, that like a lot of what you feel goes away eventually? Less so with some stuff. Like AA can be a little bit more complicated, but nervous. I feel like group sitting nerves, that does go away eventually. Or maybe I've just done it so many times, like and like walked into groups or whatever, or just like started me break people down, break groups down into people that you want to talk to. That's the other thing. Please don't think you should be like tap dancing and doing a comedy routine in front of like 15 people. Like that's like I think a social mistake in my opinion. I mean, some people are good at it, but like if it's guys who are nervous, it's easier to talk to one person or two people. Like, just break it down. So you can definitely talk to, if you're okay talking to one person, you just go into a group and find one person to talk to. Like groups of more than like 5 people tend to turn into little groups of like 2 and 3 anyway, a lot of the time.
I
Unless
think
you're
something
public
else
speaking.
I think something else that's worth pointing out, I did an entire article on this. It's not like your question here is, how do I stop being nervous? You don't need to stop being nervous. That's like almost the wrong question to be asking. I did this article a while ago called Anxiety Doesn't Go Away. You just stop caring. Like the nervousness doesn't go away. I literally, if all of you go back and watch the tape, listen to how I started today's live stream. I literally said, I am nervous. I also said that like 2 days ago, and I said that the day before, and I said that the day before. And I say that a lot in content. I'm like, I'm nervous to do this. I'm nervous to talk about this. I'm nervous to live stream. I'm nervous to just, today I started early with no warning. I'm just like, what happens if I hit go live? I was worried no one would come. I literally tell you when I'm nervous. And sometimes you miss that because you just assume, oh, people that are ahead of me must never be nervous. And Cam must never get nervous. I bet Cam never has any emotions ever. And he's just like a fucking alpha male Chad. No, you feel the nervousness and you do it anyway. And so part of this is not taking your emotions so seriously and understanding that nervousness is almost just an opinion. Like my brain is nervous and that's its opinion. Cool, great. I'm going to do it anyway. When you're nervous, it's because you're worried something bad will happen. But how can you know what's going to happen? Like Cam said, you can't predict the future. And so part of it is you notice the nervousness. You go, it's okay to be nervous. I will give myself permission to suck. I don't have to do a good job. How could I? I'm nervous. I'll go say hi and I will have no expectations, only curiosity. Let me go say hi and see what happens with this group. I don't have to do a good job. I'll just go say hi. But yeah, the nervousness doesn't go away. I'm nervous all the time. Celebrities will tell you, the honest ones. Like Eminem is someone that's talked a lot about his nervousness. And he says, every time I step on stage, I'm fucking terrified. For a lot of his career, he was high on drugs every time he stepped on stage. He talks about that a lot. And Justin Bieber is another one who talks about fear and terror and all of that when getting on stage. And they all say, it doesn't go away. At some point, you're just like, I'm nervous. Cool. Let's do this thing. Like, if anything, the anxiety, you can just rephrase it as like excitement.
I think Michael Jackson had like unbelievable stage fright, apparently.
Yeah.
Like it was, and he was performing. Part of that was probably because he was forced to perform at like 5 years old. But he was like known for having really bad like stage like nerves before he got on stage.
Yeah, lots of people have nervousness. It doesn't have to hinder you, bro. Like, I get that you feel nervous. I get that you have anxiety, but rephrase it as excitement. Like, I am often so tempted to say, I'm anxious. And I don't always do this, but as often as I can, I stop myself and I say, I'm excited. And if you literally just say excited, you will feel a lot better because excitement and nervousness manifest in the body the same way. Rapid heart rate, a little bit of shake sometimes, lightheadedness, thinking about what's going to happen in the future, excitement and nervousness, you do all those things. And so stop saying nervous or try saying nervous less and try saying I'm excited. That can help. Foretin the Turk says, can you have advice for cloning yourself and being 2 times productive? Okay, he's making a joke about how we look the same. That's a racist joke. That's not okay. We're not going to tolerate that racism, are we? He says, I'm starting to get scared from self-improvement because I overwork and burn out myself all the time. So very obvious solution. Yeah, okay, he goes on to say, yeah, good job. I love questions like this. You solved your own problem. Great. Thumbs up. This is what our coaching programs are like a lot. We try and train people to answer the questions so that like they answer their question at the same time as they state the question. Then you start to feel empowered. You're not like waiting for someone else to answer your questions. Anything you want to add to that other than good job?
I think, yeah, I mean, you being nice to yourself is pretty much the secret to that. Being nice to yourself isn't just like, avoiding negativity. It's also like giving yourself like rest breaks and, treating your body better and, all that stuff. So it's 2 things. It's like an active loving yourself, but also like loving yourself through like words of affirmation, etc. But also loving yourself through like actions as well. Yep. Just make sure it's like it's multifaceted. You're not just standing in the mirror telling you love yourself. That's not going to heal. That's not going to make you feel less tired. Like it just isn't. It might be a little bit, but not like sleeping will make you feel less tired, like fixing your sleep and everything like that.
Yeah. Another question, I really like this one. Does the dislike towards dating women, etc., go away? Yes, if you work on it. I never had issues with women as friends, but haven't been able to get rid of other beliefs. Do you just stop caring? Yes, if you let go. So part of this is embracing the idea that I have no expectations, only curiosity. Part of this is doing the work, like look up Byron Katie, The Work. Part of this is letting go. There's a book, David Hawkins, Letting Go. Part of this is working on your own self-esteem and realizing you don't need women or other people to make you happy. That's on you. That's your job. There's a lot of things that help. My Play to Win video course will absolutely help with this. But a big part of the reason why you hate women right now is because you feel you are entitled. It is impossible to hate the other gender unless you feel you're entitled to something and you're not getting it right now. And so I would work on that and say, like, literally question it. Am I entitled to right now at this moment in time a woman or multiple women being in my life and giving me the things I want? Your brain will say, yes, I am. Yes, I have the right. Everyone else is happy and I have it. No, you're not entitled to jack shit. You have the opportunity. You're entitled to the opportunity to improve yourself, to put yourself out there, to talk to women and all of that. You can also sort of say, given the current level of action that I'm taking, is it reasonable for me to expect a woman to just be here in my life? And if you're someone, I know, Mortis, you've mentioned this a few times, you're not exactly out there, and this is okay, you're not exactly out there talking to like 50 women a week and improving yourself and all of that. Like, you're just not. And so wouldn't it be unreasonable that if you're not following the instructions, you don't get to have the thing? I did a video about this recently where I talked about the cake analogy. So you can just search on my YouTube channel for the word cake. And I said, a lot of the time we want a fucking cake. And in this example, your version of a cake would be, I want a woman in my life or multiple women. And I want them to date and sleep with me. So I want the cake. And then I say, have you followed the recipe to get that cake? And you're like, no. Then why would you have a cake? You haven't followed the recipe. And so a lot of the times we're not following the recipe and then we get frustrated that we don't have the cake. And it's like, you got to follow the recipe. You got to put yourself out there. You got to improve yourself. You might have to talk to X number of women. Who knows how many? That's going to change depending on the person. If you haven't done that, you don't get the woman, or you don't get the girlfriend, or you don't get whatever. So yeah, we don't follow the recipe and then we get annoyed that we don't have the recipe. That's okay. That's most people. But it's that entitlement part of us. And Mortis, you go on to say, my friends say they just don't feel negativity towards sex, love, etc. because they don't know how to help. You just got to follow the recipe, bro. Like, it's that simple. You're overcomplicating it. You just follow the recipe. 7 says, Cam, do you want to answer this? I saw Andy's 2018 Tinder profile back when he was single. For a guy who's single in 2024, would you still go for the same vibe or would you change the pics?
Vibe, yes. I mean, you'd update it. I'm assuming the photography level could be improved with new cameras. I don't know. Your level was pretty good back in 2018. Is it probably about as good as it would be? What generally?
Yeah. I don't think so. Anything's changed. I
think you had some iPhone pictures. I think there was a couple of iPhone pictures that'd be a much better quality now.
Sure.
So yeah, probably like I would include iPhone pictures as well. Like have a couple of them because that looks a bit more. I wouldn't have everything be professional typically. That's like what I would go with. And yeah, Andy's vibe, like if it's one of the BDSM ones, that vibe has always worked. If it's just like the general one he was going with at the beginning, again, a lot of what the basics are, like looking for how good your face looks, having a good outfit on, understanding the setting of the photo. Like we've seen guys who look amazing, dress well, but all their photos are in their back garden. Like it's impossible to like set a good vibe and scene when you just don't put any effort into where you're taking the photos. That annoys me as well. Like the idea that like someone, this, I think the client I'm talking about, like he hired a professional photographer and the guy came to his house and took all of the photos in his back garden. And it's like, how fucking lazy, sorry, don't want to like go at a professional like this, but how lazy do you have to be to like take someone's money and all you did was like sit in their back garden and take photos, like for a Tinder profile as well. And like the dude was good looking and like he had a really good physique, etc. But it was just his profile was not going to go anywhere when everything is obviously just on your like your patio, your deck chairs, etc. in the back garden. Just yeah.
Expert cheek clapper. What's a good way of dealing with growing up around bad relationships and that forming nice guy tendencies, as in like people pleasing tendencies? Let's just, instead of using nice guy, let's just say like doormat or people pleasing or low integrity.
Approval
Like you
seeking.
don't have approval seeking. Yeah, that's a really good phrasing. Because I think if you say nice guy, that just gets so confusing. Because people are like, but I like nice guys. I like people who are nice. Like the fact that the word nice has become this stigmatized, like horrible word is just insane to me. Because like I try really hard to be a nice person. I do everything I can to be nice to people, but yeah, approval seeking tendencies. I have some anger towards that, and I would like to let go a bit better. You want to take this one?
I think with this, because you and I are pretty nice to people. Like that's what I said. Like there's a couple of guys I really like and follow who they're very nice to people. They're very pleasant to people, especially the girls they date. But on like big decisions, they stick to what they want. And as generally, if you're going through dating and sticking true to like what you want, and like always standing up for that, because obviously in sometimes relationships you will end up like coming to an agreement that suits both parties, etc. But as long as you can be as nice as you want, and as like as that I mean, you can be as good and as pleasant and even romantic. Like some guys don't think they should be romantic, like traditionally romantic, because that's viewed as like nice guy behavior or whatever. But it's really more about like standing up for yourself and like what you actually want, and not being silent about what you want. And that comes into honest and open communication as well. A lot of people who are nice guys, like the nice guy stuff I always see is like guys getting rejected and then like sending like a 4-paragraph like text about why that girl's a bitch and they should be in love with him and all that stuff. Like just telling them everything they wanted to tell them, like they should have said previously, rather than sending a really angry emotional text after getting rejected. Whatever. Anyway, and then that kind of stuff. I think I would need more definitions of what he thinks by nice guy as well. But like I think if it's more like general like traditional romantic behavior or being nice to people, that stuff's all fine. Like it doesn't make you less of a man. If anything, it makes you like the fact that you are a good person and you like stand up for what you believe in is like all, in my opinion, what like a strong man does.
All right, Benjamin says, hi, Andy and Cam. Hey, well, let's ignore it. He probably just thought that you were a reflection of me. He thought that was a mirror. Hi, Andy. Today I went out for a day game session, but I was paralyzed with fear. I hadn't done a day game for a month, and despite my 150 approaches with results like dates or fuck closes, and today I couldn't approach. Okay, so like, you probably know the first thing I'm going to say. Dude, I would drop the language, hey. Stop calling it a day game session. Stop saying day game. Stop saying fuck closes. Stop saying approach. You're just talking to people, man. You've put all this pressure and this weird lingo, and you've made it this big, scary thing that you have to be perfect at. You're just going outside and saying hello to human beings. That's it. You're saying hello to your fellow humans, and then you're saying, are you single? Do you want to go on a date with me? Like, make this a bit easier on yourself. As for the fear, yeah, that's normal. Welcome to talking to strangers. When you haven't done it a lot, which 150 people that you've talked to is amazing. That's incredible, but that's a good start. When you've done a couple of thousand, then you'll feel like, okay. And then if you just start talking to human beings when you go outside and not worrying about approaching, like just go talk to strangers and say hello. I promise that this will get a lot easier. Anything you want to add?
No, I agree with that. I think making it more normal. Like normalizing the language you use.
Yeah. Dr. Chad says, Cam, necklace while wearing a hoodie.
No, not typically. There are some guys who can make it work. It works better in like if you're doing like hip hop streetwear stuff, maybe. But like typically I wouldn't do that. It's not a very clean look. Andy's gonna hate me. I'm wearing necklaces so much less the last year or so. I don't know why. I'm getting really into like the clean, like keeping it clean here, and then wearing a lot of bracelets and rings and stuff and hats. So maybe I don't know.
All right, we got a long one from Kimberly. So she said, just to respond and not to be argumentative, because I agree with your point, and I understand you were trying to use the phrasing as an example. So we were talking about, the gym thing. So yeah, I think I pointed out you might not like being approached at the gym, but there are women that do. And sometimes in dating, we speak for the entire gender. Men do that as well, by the way. Men will say like, oh, men like this. And it's like, no, they fucking don't. Like, that's something that you realize when you do a fair bit of dating and coach a lot of people. So you're going to say, in this case, I preface the statement with, personally, yeah, you did. Yeah. And then thoughtfully chose what words to use and not use. Yeah, you did. I think it's important to be aware and sensitive to the fact that many women feel this way, and I would hope that a guy would be willing to fill out the situation to better understand that person's boundaries. Yeah, so something Cam and I talk about a lot is that we start with the default assumption that people here on this channel have empathy for other people. And we have that assumption because we mention it all the time. Like we talk about, let no one come to you without leaving better off. We talk about how to be kind to other people. We talk about self-love and sharing that with other people. We talk about making women's day better when you hit on them. We specifically cover a lot of this. So we start with that default assumption. I can get that from your point of view. If you're maybe not super familiar with the channel, you might not realize that. But something else that might be worth pointing out is, like, especially with the previous statement here, where you're saying like many women feel this way and I would hope that a guy would feel like this situation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's like basic empathy. But at the same time, it can be very easy in dating to come from a place of fear where you're like trying to tiptoe around, especially as a man, where you're like, I don't want to upset her. I don't want to creep her out. I don't want to be bad. I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable. And then you're just so in your own head that you're playing not to lose, and you're not even trying to make that person's day better. You're not even trying to leave this woman better than you found her. You're not even trying to make her smile because you're so terrified of making her feel bad. And if we approach dating from that mindset, whether you're a man or a woman, like gender is irrelevant here. If you approach dating from the mindset of, I don't want to do anything wrong, I have to make sure I get everything correct, it's the opposite of giving yourself permission to suck. It's the opposite of leaving the person better than you found them. Because like I said, you just become almost paralyzed. And a lot of men, a lot of women too, are so fucking paralyzed in dating because they're like, what if I'm not perfect? What if I upset them? What if I think I'm a loser? What if I creep them out? What if I ruin their day? What if I say something wrong? What if people look at me and notice that I'm doing it? What if other people think I'm creepy? That you're not actually even going in there with the mindset of like compassion, love, freedom, which are the things that you sort of mentioned here. So I get your point, and I think it's a beautiful point. Like, be empathetic to the people that you're hitting on. Yeah, I fucking agree, and Cam will be the first person to agree with that. But I think if we sit there sort of scared of negative reactions or scared of upsetting anyone, that's not empathy. Like, it's very hard to be empathetic and kind and compassionate to someone else when you're terrified of hurting them. And so instead we go the other way and we say, how can I leave their life a little better than I found it? How can I add to them? Anything you want to add to that, big boy? I'm assuming that was a no. But yeah, cool discussion. I like this discussion.
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry.
Oh,
Hello.
I thought you were just thinking. I thought you were having the world's longest think.
No, I was muted. So I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah. I agree with everything you said. I don't think there's anything massive to add. Yeah, we talk a lot about we talk a lot about this stuff as well. We talk about trauma dumping a lot and stuff like that. We're trying to figure out what the actual like right way forward is with some of this stuff and where it isn't, where it is. I like our freeway thing about like, was it be honest, be kind, and what was the other one? There's another one, but I can't remember what it was. It was like honesty and kindness, and then like you can be honest.
Yeah, that's what I say to everyone else. Be honest in the most compassionate way that you can be. You don't have to be perfect with that. You practice that, but yeah. And if you're really like, look, I get that people still have fear. Like Kimberly, you're talking about like, sometimes I don't want to be approached. Sometimes lots of women don't want to be approached in the gym. Yeah, like obviously, like yes. And guys have the same fear of like, what if I approach a girl in the gym and I bother her? So you just literally go up talking about like, or framing it in the way that you want to frame it. Like, hi, I thought you were really cute. Or hi, you seem cool. Are you in the middle of a workout? Like, do you want me to talk to you or do you want me not to? Like, that's how I've hit on women in the gym. Again, I've only ever done it 3 times. But I literally started with that. I was like, hey, do you have like half a second to talk? And she's like, yeah, I got like a couple of minutes. I'd be like, hey, like, I'll be very honest and straight up front. I thought you were really cute. I wanted to come say, hey, are you single? Do you want to talk to me? Or do you want to just do your workout? And then there you go. I get my answer. So yeah, we can just like be honest with this stuff. Pal says, that's a naughty word. Cunt. So in Australia, cunt is like a word that we just sprinkle on everything. It's just like a part of the vernacular. We sprinkle it on everything.
Can you tell him not to make smoothies during streams? That would be really helpful.
Yeah, Mr. I cannot say his last name. Mr. Veg. Can you tell me how to say his last name? You live with him. So
I have
for
no
everyone
idea.
listening,
I have no idea how to say his last name, bro.
Mr. Veg, can you please not make smoothies in the background of Cam's live stream? I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Mortis says, isn't there a rational way of just being a decent human being, including flaws, talking to people, someone likes you, you like them back, that's it? Yeah, there's a lot of rational. Okay, so I tell you what you would like. There's a TV show, and Mortis, you do no. This doesn't apply to you, buddy. Your answer is go outside and take action. But everybody else listening, there's an entire TV show that covers this exact question. It's called The Good Place. The entire point of this show, there's like 4 seasons, literally covering ethics and morality and how to be a quote good person, and it's like ultra in depth. But for me personally, the rule or the mindset that I've come up with that I like the best is the golden rule. And this shows up in basically every religion, and it is treat other people the way that you would want to be treated. And so that's the pretty rational way of being a decent human being. But yeah, understand that people have debated, moral philosophers and religionists and theologists and scientists and psychologists have debated since the dawn of time. How do I be a decent human being? And there isn't one definitive answer. And so what I like to do is look inside myself and say, what would I like to do? How would I like to treat other people? And how would I like them to treat me? And like Cam said, what I've settled on is honesty and compassion. Like that's just something that works pretty well for me.
I am going to hop off in a sec, man. So
Yeah,
we're going to do one last question. We do one last question.
All right, well, I got to find you a
pick a good
question.
one.
Oh my god.
Is my chair making a lot of noise? I realize I'm like moving in my chair too much.
And your keyboard was making a lot of noise while we're talking about it. Okay, here you go. You tackle this big one. You want to
32, which good-looking loser, shout out, considered to be the cutoff point for setting aside 2 years to get over approach anxiety. I drive for Uber Eats. I still live at home. I'm decent looking, smart. Can I do it? Can I do this? As in like you want to keep doing Uber Eats and just go out and do the AA program. I'm assuming. Yes, you can do this. What's
do whatever you want.
Yeah, 32 is not the cutoff. If anything, these age suggestions are going further and further back, as you know, like rampant youth unemployment. No one seems to get a job till they're 24 anymore or something. I don't know what's happening, but basically, like you can do a lot more in your 30s than even when Chris was writing. Chris was writing in like 2013 or 2012, when like I feel like everyone was advising different things for like different decades of your life. So yeah, I don't see that's a problem.
We just don't do that. Like you and I just don't recommend, like in your 20s, you have to do this. In your 30s, you have to do this, because what about...
You've coached guys in their 40s and 50s. You coached a guy in their 50s, right? And in their 40s.
I coached a guy in his 60s. I gave coaching to a guy in his 60s. Yeah. On like, dating.
Divorcees. Yeah. You've had a couple of divorcees and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are fun. I like working with those guys because they're just like, they're so chill and easy to work with, because by the time you're in your 50s or 60s, you're chill. Ironically, you're not as afraid, or at least most people I've seen are not as afraid of death when they're closer to it versus 20-something-year-olds who freak out about death, and 30-year-olds who go, I'm too late, it's too late for me. And that's just because I think the older you get, the closer you get to death, so you start to actually think about it and approach it in your mind. But 20 and 30-year-olds, most of you are just so unbelievably afraid of death that you don't even go there. You don't even think about it. You don't want to consider the fact that one day you won't be here. You'll think about it for 5 seconds and go, scary, fuck. And then you'll act from a place of panic and fear and anxiety and all of that. You won't be as rational. And that's okay. That's like most human beings are afraid of death. But yeah, no, it's not too late. Are you getting off? You staying? What are you gonna do?
Oh yeah. So I got lost in your eyes and listening to your answer. That's all good. We're gonna do something cool soon on the stream as well. Should we preface this, or I don't know? One of the streams I think one of the streams we'll have to do like a speed round of questions in one of the streams, because much of the stream will be taken up by something else. So it will be interesting to see how we do that when we do it.
Yeah. Good shit.
Do we tell them what? Do we tell them what it is, or are you just
okay? We're going to watch a documentary. No. Let's not tell them what it is, because they might go and watch it, and we want them to watch it with us.
Okay.
So we're watching a documentary where people are talking about their struggles as being like, quote, incels, or guys that don't have sexual partners. And a lot of it mirrors, like the way they talk mirrors how some of you talk. Like as in they're going through the same anxieties and fears and worries and concerns and limiting beliefs as a lot of you have expressed. So I think it'll be really cool to like listen to it.
It's also
And
hilariously from a like another era of like when pickup artistry was like huge. It's really
it's
funny.
from like the
Let's
90s or 80s or something, right?
No, it's from
It
like
looks really
2010. 2000. It's from
okay.
like early GLL era when I was like getting into everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
this could be good.
Yeah, it'd be
All right,
really good to listen to these guys. Yeah.
peace out.
Catch ya. All right, goodbye. Get out of here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got you all to myself. I don't have to share you anymore. No more threesomes. Let's all hang out. So, Expert Cheek Clapper, my boy, says, thanks, Cam. I'm not a people pleaser anymore. It's the fact that I genuinely believed that giving a girl whatever she wanted at my expense was completely normal. I'm angry and guilty I bought into it. So you can kind of play around with that, my friend, and say, who would I be? Let me take these off. Who would I be without that anger and that guilt? You'd probably be a lot more free. And a book that can help with this is Loving What Is by Byron Katie. But I would just start processing that guilt and that anger and realizing that you were doing the best you could at the time. Like, think about it like this. There's a quote from Buddhism, or Buddhism is founded on the belief that all suffering comes from ignorance. And when they say ignorance, they just mean like you didn't know something. You were missing some key piece of information. And so if you had known better, like if you had known that doing whatever someone wants and buying them whatever they want is probably not going to lead to a happy, healthy relationship, if you'd known that, you wouldn't have done it, would you? And so your one crime, you're beating yourself up and feeling guilt. Your one crime was that you didn't know something. Would you scream at a child who didn't know something? Would you yell at your best friend who didn't know something? Or would you just be like, oh, you don't know that? Okay, I'll tell you that. Like, you would educate that person. And so the way out of this is education and gratitude for that education. You have been educated. You have learned something. Be grateful for that. You don't have to feel bad that you didn't know something that you didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. How the hell were you supposed to know something that you didn't know? Were you supposed to just say, hey, universe, tell me what I don't know right now? Like, go up to random strangers and be like, hey, can you please tell me what I don't know? They're not going to know what you don't know. So, yeah, man, like, part of this is realizing your one big giant crime was not knowing something. Do you know how many times I have looked like a dumbass or been tempted to tell myself that I'm a dumbass because I didn't know something? That is so unbelievably normal. Like Kimberly is saying here, and I love this quote, I've heard this quote a million times. We do the best we can with the resources and the knowledge we have at the time. To expect different is not reasonable. Yeah, it's literally an argument with rationality and reality. You're literally saying, I should be different to how I am. I should have more knowledge in my head, or I should have had more knowledge in my head than I did. How? How would you even do that? Like, we're all here to learn. And part of like Expert Cheek Clapper, I think what you're doing is you're putting this pressure on yourself that you have to be perfect, that you have to know everything, that you have to never make any, quote, mistakes, that there has to be no learning lessons. That is essentially your statement here. I should never have any learning lessons. I should never be humbled. There should never be anything I don't know. How would you ever grow then? Like, literally, if you knew everything already, if you already knew everything and you already had the answers, what would be the point? Life would probably be boring. I love to bring this example up, the video game example. If you enter cheat codes into a video game, it's not fun anymore. If you go to a cinema to watch a movie and I tell you the plot line and I tell you how it's going to end, very big chance you're just like, well, this is fucking boring. Like, why'd you spoil it for me? And so we like the challenge. We like learning. We like being surprised. Like, we enjoy those things. It's just that here you've labeled it as a bad thing. You learned something, you got surprised, and you're saying that's a bad thing. I shouldn't have been surprised. I don't even know how you'd go through life without ever being surprised. Think about it. When you were born, you literally didn't know how to feed yourself. You didn't know how to talk. You didn't know how to walk. You thought it was normal, and it was normal, to shit in your own diaper. You shit in your pants, buddy. You didn't know to use a toilet. You didn't know how to use a toilet. You didn't even know a toilet was a thing, and you couldn't have used the word to describe it anyway, even if you did know. You didn't have language or knowledge. And all that we're ever doing is slowly learning and slowly evolving and slowly growing over time. And part of that means sometimes you might be humbled. Sometimes you might have a little bit of guilt or frustration. But again, like Kimberly said, you were trying to do the best you could with the information that you had at the time. And to expect any different is not only unreasonable, it's painful. Look at the pain that you're feeling from saying, I should have known better. No, you shouldn't have. You should have known exactly what you knew at that time. Now, if in the future you would like to know more, great. That's what self-improvement is for. And so again, a little bit less focus, or a lot less focus on the past. The past is done. It's over. And every single second that you spend digging around in the past going, fuck, man, I'm such a bad person. Why was I such a piece of shit back then? You're just bullying someone who had less information as you. You're punching down. It's like bullying a child. You're literally saying, this person's ignorant. I should pick on them. And that's what anger and guilt about the past is. It's us picking on ourselves. And we think that that will help us in the future. No, most of the time you just waste the present, and now you're scared of the future because you're like, what if I make another big mistake like this? What if right now there's something huge that I'm not realizing that in the future I'm going to look like a dumbass? You know, there's this really good quote, your future self is talking shit about you right now. But you can stop that cycle of bullying and you can say, okay, I know everything I know right now. Would I like to know more in the future? Yes, let me work towards that. So focus more on the present and the future and what you can do about it rather than the thing you cannot change, which is the past. The past is done, my brother. It's done. It's done. You knew what you knew. It's done. There's a quote from the Bible, from the Christian Bible, that I really like. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The past is something you cannot change. The present and the future is something that you can have an impact on, and the wisdom to know, okay, I'm going to let the past go. I can't change that. So yeah, I promise you're doing a good job, my brother. But work on the future, man. Work on learning rather than saying I didn't know enough. Very simple solution. Learn more now. Like rather than saying, holy crap, I was a dumbass in the past. Okay, then be intelligent and wise going forward. Like work on what you can control, work on what you can change. But yeah, you're doing a good job. All right, Kimberly, you had a quote here. Yeah, this one. So you said, love this feedback. So we were talking, you and I kind of went back and forwards a little bit. And you said, in my opinion, approaching dating as trying to be friendly and curious, if that person is interesting, go from there. Yeah, like, oh God, like Kimberly, you probably know this. Lots of you guys know this too. So many people in dating approach it as like, I have to be perfect. And Kimberly, was it you or was it someone else? There was another woman, it might not have been you. There was another woman a couple of days ago who said, I'm a submissive and I'm about to go into the bedroom and be submissive for like the first time. Basically, how do I be perfect? Maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was another woman. And they said, how do I be freaking perfect? And so it's not just guys that put pressure on themselves. Any women listening, you'll know that. You'll know like, yeah, no shit, we put pressure on ourselves during dating. But a lot of guys don't understand that. And then vice versa. A lot of women don't understand men put insane pressure on themselves to be perfect in dating. But if we can take some of that pressure off and see dating as like, all right, I'm going to go in there. I have no expectations, only curiosity. I will do the best that I can with what I have right now. And if I suck, that's cool. I'll just work on being a little better. If the other person doesn't give me the reaction that I want, that's okay. Like I'm not entitled to a great reaction from them, but I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to talk to them, see if they're single, see if they want to go on a date with me. And whatever happens after that happens. If they don't like me, that's cool. I'm left. I'm right here. I can like me. There's a song. I fucking love this song. I've been like wanting to bring this song up for so long and insert it. So I'm going to shoehorn that into this live stream right here. There's a song by Miley Cyrus called Flowers. And let me put it on the screen. I really like the lyrics in this song because it's basically a song about like, I got rejected. Like you weren't there for me. But you know what? I'm here for me. You know, she's like, I didn't want to leave you. I didn't want to lie. I started to cry, but then I remembered I can buy myself flowers. Like, I don't need you to buy me flowers. I can write my name in the sand. I can talk to myself for hours. I can say things that you don't understand. I can take myself dancing. I can hold my own hand. You know what? Actually, I can love me better than you can. Like, in other words, this is a song about like, I don't need you to make me feel good. If I want you to buy me flowers, but you break up with me or I break up with you or you're not buying me flowers, why don't I just buy me some fucking flowers? I want the flowers. Why don't I just do it? And your brain will sometimes go, no, it doesn't count. Okay, then be honest with the person and say, hey, it would mean a lot to me if you buy me flowers. And then they either will or they won't. If they don't, then maybe you could date someone else or you could buy yourself the damn flowers. You know, you could talk, when she says you could talk to myself for hours, like self-therapy. Like if you're struggling to be heard, if the other person isn't listening to you or giving you the response that you want, write it in a freaking journal. Talk to your friends about it. That's an option. Like there's all these other options basically. So I really love this song. I really, really, really love this song. It helps that it's catchy as well. But that kind of talks a little bit about what I'm talking about here. But Kimberly, I will also point out, I really appreciate how open you were with your very first, well, one of your other questions. Let me see if I can find it again. This one here, where you said, hey, I want to push back a little bit. I want to clarify what I meant. I know that it can be a little bit of a challenge to sort of, I guess, state your mind, particularly in a public place like this. So, really good job. I really appreciate how open you were. I appreciate that you were pretty reasonable and rational with what you said. I don't think you were argumentative. I'll be honest with you. I dislike confrontation so much that when I first saw this comment that you posted, my very first thought was like, she's arguing, because my brain automatically goes there because I don't like confrontation. But I don't think you were argumentative. I think you were very rational. I appreciate you being very honest. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for helping me work through my stuff too. Again, I really dislike arguments. I really dislike confrontations, and you helped me let go of that a little bit. So thank you. I appreciate you. Phoenix, you said, because we were talking before about how some people say 32 is like too late to start dating. You said 32 better not be the cutoff for anything. The cutoff is the moment you take your last breath. That is when it is too late to work on your self-improvement or work on your goals. Before that date, you still have time. And a lot of time all goals, but especially dating, people will go, holy shit, it's too late for me because I'm arbitrary age. I'm 20 something and it's too late. I'm 30 something and it's too late. I'm 40 something and it's too late. No, there's people out there. As you age, I think this is a pretty general rational statement. As you age, when you get to a certain age, there's slightly less, or as you age, there's slightly less matches for you. Cool. But you don't need everyone on the entire planet to like you. You're just looking for one. Maybe you're looking for two or three, but you're looking for a small amount of people that are into you and want to date you and are what you're looking for. You don't need the whole world to like you. And so there's more than enough people at every age. I mean, for God's sakes, like you could be 80 and find people, But yeah, I think you know that already. Let me read through Phoenix. Okay. No, yeah. You know what, Phoenix? As I was saying that, I was actually literally thinking, but if you listen to what I said, so what you've said here is, I think a lot of people actually would scream at a child for not knowing something. Yeah, I know. I agree with you. But as I was saying, I was specifically talking to expert cheek clapper. He, I don't think, would yell at the child or scream at a child for not knowing something. But yeah, I do agree with you, Phoenix. Like, I think if we go outside, we see a lot of very frustrated parents, and that's just because they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves. They're worried about being judged for being a bad parent. They have no clue what the hell they're doing, because most people don't. Like, most people don't know what they're doing, let alone how to then raise another life form that needs you. Like, literally, that life form will die if you don't feed it and clothe it and house it and love it. Like, and so there's a lot of pressure. So yeah, you do see a lot of parents that scream at their child, but yeah, I get the point that you're making, or the point that I was making, sorry, is the expert cheek clapper probably wouldn't. All right, Mortis says, okay, still very quick question. What can you do if you already are social and you don't have overall social issues, but you still see sex dating women very negatively? Is there a baby step? Yeah, there is, but you haven't done it yet. So Cam and I talked a little bit about you yesterday, and I'll be very upfront and honest and tell you that. We talked specifically about you, and Cam said to me, and I agree with it, from now on, every question that you specifically, Mortis, and anybody else who's in a similar situation as you, but you specifically, every question that you ask, I'm going to tell you to go do the work. The work is go read my Play to Win video course or watch it and do the steps there. Or read You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought and do the steps that are in there. But your mission now is to do the work. Like, you already have enough information, dude. And you asking more and more questions is you avoiding. I've done a few videos on this where I say, stop watching my content. For some of you, like, stop watching my stuff. Stop going and watching other coaches. Stop going and reading books. Like, I know I gave you 2 suggestions on books, my Play to Win video course and You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought. But when you read them, do them. Don't just read them, like, do the steps in them. Like, you're at the point where you're smart enough and you're wise enough and you have enough information. Like, you have more than enough information, Mortis, and you're more than intelligent enough. You're just procrastinating. So go do the work. Go work on the mindset. Go work on the positivity. I just gave you 2 instruction manuals for that, the Play to Win video course and You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought. But you need to actually do them. Like, you just reading them won't do anything. You asking me more questions won't do anything. And so I'll be gentle with this, but every question that you ask me from now on, I'm just going to gently remind you of that. Go do the work. I promise that you will be more positive, but you have to work on positivity. There's not some mindset trick that I can give you. There's not some crazy secret shortcut or crazy technique. You just need to do the work now. Every time you have a negative thought, replace it with one positive thought or add in one positive thought. This is the basis of what's called cognitive behavior therapy. It's what's in my Play to Win video course, and it is what's in You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought. It's what a therapist would get you to do if they were teaching you cognitive behavior therapy. You just need to practice. You don't need to learn anything. You already know enough. Start practicing. This is how I overcame my depression and became an optimist, or became more, I guess, realistic or positive. I literally, every time I had a negative thought, I just replaced it with a positive one. So go do the work, my brother. And I promise you already have enough information in your head. You just got to practice. Kimberly makes a point. I'm not sure what you were referring to here. I can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but fuck it. I'll just read this out anyway because it's so great. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's a chance to move forward with new understanding and boundaries. Forgiveness of self is no different. Yeah, I know. But that's the struggle. Hey, like a lot of people struggle to forgive themselves because they're like, I am better than everyone else, or I'm worse than everyone else. Like everybody's brain, including mine at times, and it used to be all the time, everybody's brain believes that we're either better than everyone else or worse than everyone else. Like literally, everyone's brain secretly is narcissistic and thinks it's either God or the devil. Like everyone's brain thinks that. You're either the best person on the planet who's better than everyone else and worthy of more shit and you're entitled and you should get what you want, or you're such a piece of shit and you don't deserve anything and you should never get what you want, and other people can just follow instructions and then achieve a goal, but not you. The instructions won't work for you because you're a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. Like our brains secretly think that. And letting go of that and realizing that you're just a member of the human race, you're not that special. You're not either better than everyone else and you're not worse than everyone else. You're just a member of the human race. That starts to help you feel a lot more connected. But on forgiveness specifically, one of my favorite quotes on forgiveness is from the Buddha. And he said, "Forgive others, not because they deserve your forgiveness, but because you deserve peace." And that obviously applies to yourself. Another quote from the Buddha is, "You yourself, as much as anyone else in the universe, deserve your love and compassion." But your brain will often go, "No, I don't. Other people deserve kindness and I should be polite to other people, but not me. I'm a piece of shit. I'm going to bully myself and say stuff in my head that I would never say to another human being. But I deserve it because I'm a big piece of shit." Or I deserve it because I should be better than other people. I wouldn't bully them and pressure them and push them, but I will pressure myself because I should be better than other people. So yeah, it's just the way the brain works. Like it's not a bad thing. You don't have to feel guilty that you secretly think you're God or the devil or somewhere in between. That's just the structure of the brain. You didn't ask for your brain to be that way. You just inherited a brain. So did I. And that's part of how our brains work. And so we let go of some of that. Kimberly goes on to say she loves that song, the Miley Cyrus song. Phoenix says, "No, man, don't get another Miley Cyrus song stuck in my head. I don't even have kids." Yeah, but I like this song, though. I'll say, if you want the cure to something getting stuck in your head, is just play a different song. And there you go. That's all. Play like Rick Astley. You know, "Never Gonna Give You Up." Just play that. There you go. And then I fixed it for you. Kimberly says, "I buy myself flowers all the time." Yeah, and in this song, like I know you're saying you literally buy yourself flowers, but in this song, I see flowers as a metaphor. Like there's so many times in my life where I'm like, all right, I wish Emmy was free today so that I could talk about the business or something that's stressing me out. And then she isn't free and she's like, "No, I'm busy, I'm doing stuff." And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to metaphorically buy myself flowers. What does that look like for me? Okay, I will sit there. I will take some time. For me, I like to go for a walk. I will buy a nice little iced tea with no calories. Fucking love that. There's one brand that I love. I can't remember what it's called. I will go for a little walk or I'll sit in a park and I'll just think in my own head and be like, okay, what was I going to say to Emmy? Let me just think those thoughts in my head, almost like I'm talking to myself. I'm carrying on a conversation. I am stressed about the business because of this, or I'm wanting to improve the business this way. And I'll just run through that conversation with myself. Or sometimes I will literally do something nice for myself, like the equivalent of buying myself flowers. I'll go, okay, what would be really nice for me right now? What would be something that would make me feel good? I'll go home, I'll chill, I'll play some video games, I'll have a great time, I'll have fun. And then that's me metaphorically buying myself flowers. So a lot of the time we're expecting other people to make us happy. We're wanting them to give us something, or we're wanting them to be there for us, or we're wanting them to listen to us, or we're wanting validation from other people. I mean, how many times do we all want validation from someone else? But if you can give yourself that validation, and you literally just say it the same way that you would expect someone else to do for you. So if you're wanting validation from someone else, If you're wanting them to say, you did great, kiddo, you literally just say to yourself, you know what? You did great, kiddo. And you say whatever it was that you're wanting them to say. So there's a book on this called, I'll show it on the screen actually, but it's called I Need Your Love, Is That True? And a lot of you who've been on the channel for a while, you would have heard me recommend this book like all the damn time. I love this book. It's by Byron Katie. I Need Your Love, Is That True? How to stop seeking love, approval, and appreciation and start finding them instead. In other words, how to give those things to yourself. And she has an analogy that I really like. She was really frustrated at her kids for years because they wouldn't pick up their socks and they left their room kind of messy. And she would yell at them, she would scream, she would blackmail them, she would punish. She tried, telling them you can't go out for a month unless you pick up the socks. And no matter what she did, they didn't want to pick up the damn socks. And so at some point she had this damn epiphany, this huge epiphany where she's like, wait, they clearly don't care about picking up the socks. I've tried bribing them, blackmailing them, yelling at them, screaming, fighting a fucking war with them, and I'm treating my children like the enemy, and they still don't care about these socks. I'm the one that cares about the socks. Why don't I just pick up the socks? And then she picked up the socks, and then she felt nice. She was like, wow, their bedroom is nice and clean now. Wow. And that took 30 fucking seconds to pick up the socks instead of the literal hours, days, weeks, months, and years that I have spent hating my children and going to war with them. I could have just picked up the socks the whole damn time. Okay, I'll pick up the socks from now on. And a funny thing happened. She started picking up the socks, and then her kids started doing nice things for her because they were like, thanks, Mum, for picking up the socks. I'm going to do the dishes for you. And she was like, wow, that's really sweet, because she was now giving instead of screaming and taking and all of that. So a lot of the time in relationships as parents, I work with quite a few parents in our coaching group on how to be better parents. Like they come to us wanting to, like that's their goal. And a lot of the time what we get people to focus on is like, if you want something, and the other person really doesn't want to give it to you or do it for you, is there a way that you could either do it yourself or do a similar thing yourself or ask somebody else? That's sometimes an option. Like if your kids aren't picking up the socks, but you say, I really don't want to. Okay, do you have room in your budget to pay $20 once a week, which a lot of people have $20 spare. Can I pay $20 once a week for a maid to come in for 1 hour and pick up the socks? Yeah, I could pay that. Okay, do that. And we've had so many people in the coaching group where they're like, I really wish this was done. Okay, just pay someone else to do it. It costs $20. That person does it and they're like, wow, I don't have to get someone else to do it. I can just pay someone to do it. So there's all these different solutions to give ourselves the metaphorical flowers that we're wanting or to pick up our own socks. And we make life a lot more peaceful for ourselves. If we want something and other people aren't giving it to us or one person isn't giving it to us, we can just give that to ourselves. All right, I'll look through the rest of your questions. I think we're starting to wrap up, but yeah, maybe I'll answer one more question and then we'll wrap up. It's getting towards 2 hours and Daddy needs to go get some breakfast and have a break, but I appreciate all of you being here. I think this was a blast. Thank you all for helping me work through some of my fears. Kimberly, you helped me work through my fear of, I guess, argument. Not that you and I had an argument, but fear of any sort of perceived argument or conversation or confrontation. So thank you for that. All of you helped me work through my little fear of what if I start this live stream really early, like impromptu, just hit go live. Will anybody come? A bunch of you came. I feel like we had a pretty good hangout. So thank you all for helping me work through that. And as I've said to quite a few of you, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to have fears. I just told you 2 of mine. I literally still feel nervous and anxious about those things. I just don't care. Like, I care, but I don't sit there and go, holy shit, I'm nervous, therefore I can't take action. Or I have this fear, therefore I can't do anything. I have this anxiety, therefore I'm not going to be able to move forward. No, I just feel the fear or the anxiety or that worry and I go, cool, let's do this thing. I don't have to be perfect. I can suck, but let's just get it done. So all of you use that as inspiration if you would like to. You don't have to be perfect, but just give yourself permission to suck. Take that step anyway. Bryman 2052, we'll make yours the last question. If any of you have any other questions, you can just come tomorrow or the next couple of days and drop them in the chat. But Bryman says, I do talk to girls and stuff sometimes. That's really cool, my man. That's really awesome. Like a lot of people are really scared to talk to people that they like or that they're interested in. So the fact that you're doing it ever is incredible. Any suggestions for steps I can take to get back into approaching and stuff? Even if once I'm in this situation, I feel repulsed by it. So I'm assuming when you mean repulsed, you're not like repulsed by, I'm assuming you just mean scared, like you want to run away. That's fine. Just work on exposure therapy, which is like think of it like this. Every single time you're having a conversation with someone, like especially women that you're into, is exposure therapy. Every single second that you're standing there talking to someone, or even just thinking about talking to someone, or even just trying to talk to someone, every single second is progress. Every single second gets you closer to being comfortable with it. And that's all this is. You're just giving yourself exposure therapy and learning to be comfortable in these situations that make you uncomfortable. Like, it's just practice, man, I promise. As for like any steps that I can take to get back into it, if you haven't already seen, I literally have like a little approach anxiety program. And I'll show it on the screen, but you can just go onto my website, go onto killyourinnerloser.com and search for the word approach or anxiety. And I made it very simple so that anyone can do it. And if you scroll down, blah, 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 I have a whole bunch of steps here. So this is it. The very first one is obviously give yourself permission to suck. You don't need to be confident. You don't need to do a good job. Second, go outside each day for as many minutes or hours as you can and just think about hitting on women. And if you can actually hit on them and say, hello, you're cute, are you single, blah, 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 great, do it. If you're not able to, that's fine. All I care about is that every woman that you walk past that you're interested in, just imagine talking to her. Imagine what it would be like to say hi. Imagine what it would be like to have a little conversation, have some small talk, and then say, can I get your phone number? Like, play it out in your head with every woman that you're thinking about talking to. And then obviously at any point you're allowed to actually do it. But if you can't, that's okay. Just go out there and keep thinking about it. Just keep practicing. You're basically training yourself in your mind to show yourself that it's not that scary. And every single second, as I say here, every single second that you're out there is a success. Give yourself a pat on the back every single time you go out, even if it's just for 1 minute, and then you feel that repulsing feeling. You run home, you're like, oh God, I can't believe I did that. I almost died. Oh my God. Like, every single second out there is a bit of progress. Once it's become a habit to walk around thinking about doing it, start making eye contact with some of them and then start smiling. Try and smile at some of them. Just giving them a little smile. I promise you that women are nice and lots of them will smile back. Some of them won't because they're nervous or they're shy or whatever reason, but lots of them will smile back. Once that's a habit, start giving them a compliment. Hey, I like your shoes, cool shoes. And then you walk off. Hey, I just wanted to tell you that you're really pretty. And then you walk away. Hey, I just wanted to tell you, I love your shirt. Your shirt is so cool. Or, hey, those are cool tattoos. Your tattoos are freaking amazing. Like, I compliment people on their tattoos all the time, men and women, all the time. Once that is a habit, you walk up to someone, you give them a compliment, and then you make a little bit of small talk. You don't need to be good. You don't need to have a great conversation. And then you say, would you like to grab a drink with me sometime or a coffee? Or are you single? I'd love to spend some time with you and get to know you. And then from there, congratulations, you're doing it. So yeah, go check out this. This is basically like the most baby step that I could ever come up with. Like, if you're too terrified to even talk to someone or smile at them, there's still something you can do. You can go outside and think about doing it. So yeah, just start doing that, man. Like, I promise that will help. But good job caring about this, I guess. Good job working on this. A lot of people are wanting to talk to other people, but they're too scared to do it. So massive props to you for that, dude. And I promise every single second that you're out there even trying is amazing. Kimberly, no, I didn't say tatties. I said tattoos. Tattoos. Like these things. That thing. Where is it? Tattoo. Tattoo, 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 tattoo. It's because I'm Aussie and you probably can't understand a single word that I'm saying, and you've probably all just been assuming what I've said, but yeah, tattoos. Anyway, love and kisses and all of that good shit to all of you. I promise, I will leave you with this. I promise all of you are capable of achieving greatness, even if you don't feel like you are. I promise if you just improve a tiny little bit each day, week, or month, whatever your goal, you can make it. This really is just a series of baby steps. That's all I've ever done. I just told you on today's live stream 2 big fears that I have, and you saw me take tiny little baby steps towards working through them. That's all this shit is. Go out there and talk to some people and just take baby steps, or go out there and build a business and take some baby steps. Go out there and just walk for 10 minutes or something a day if you're trying to lose weight. Whatever your goals are, take the tiniest little baby steps, and I promise that you will make progress and it will all work out. You're all doing a good job. See you tomorrow. You've been sitting around trying to achieve your goals on your own, making a little bit of progress, but nowhere near what you know you're capable of. Time to get serious. Ravi got serious by joining my coaching, following in my footsteps, and creating his own kick-ass coaching business, motivating other people and changing the world. Joe had a ton of sex and learned to open up deeply with women. He started his own successful photography and dating business, quit his job, and he's earning lots of money. Jack went all in with his sex life, moved across the country to pursue his dreams, had a bunch of wild sex and a threesome, quit porn, and made connections in the LA party scene. Click the link to coaching in the description below. It's time to go all in with this thing and do this thing for real.